waiting for technical difficulties here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Lake Township's Tuesday, February 18th, regularly scheduled board meeting. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order, and those of you who can stand, could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Kowal.
Here.
Trustee Ruggles.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Treasurer Roman.
Yep.
Clerk Noble here.
Yep.
Very good. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with one item. I'd like to swap item 10 with item 11 so that we can have our trustee comments prior to our executive session.
I'd like to second that motion to approve the agenda with swiping 9 to 10,
All right, 10 to 11.
10 to 11.
Okay, I have a motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Next item, public comment. Public comment is for those who may want to come and have something to speak about for 3 minutes that is generally not on the agenda. At this time, if you have something to say, please identify yourself, and you will be required to identify yourself to the recorder, and you will have 3 minutes at the podium. Anyone at this time? Seeing none, moving on to item 6, consent agenda, a list of revenue expenses, disbursements, and department reports, and notifications. Any questions or comments from the board at this time? Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve from Mr. Roman, support.
Support.
I have support from Mr. Noble, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Item 7A and B, January 13th special board meeting and the regular board meeting of January 21st. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 13th and January 21st.
I have a motion from Andrea Voorhees, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from from Clerk Noble. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. New business, request to approve Stanley Park Phase 1 bid. Mr. O'Neill.
Good evening, everyone. You have before you a package from McCarthy and Smith, and Aaron's here tonight to go through it and explain kind of what's been done here. This should look familiar because it's the same process we use for the buildings. The one thing I want to mention is that, as we know, we did not move ahead with construction last year, but in rebidding this, we, I think, ended up about $60,000 on the good side. We can't, this proposal that's before you tonight, or this award recommendation, represents about a $60,000 savings compared to the last time this was considered. So that's good news. And while Aaron's going to get into some of the specifics, we're on target to begin on April 15th, which is as soon as we can begin. And we're also on target then to complete everything in a 6-month window because we've got to wrap construction up by October 15th. So everything in the schedule points in that kind of direction, and Aaron is here to kind of get some of the highlights in the package. So,
Hello, Aaron.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Supervisor and Township Trustees. Thanks for having us. So yeah, we had a really successful bidding phase for Stanley Park, and we appreciate the opportunity here. So back on January 16th of this year, the project was bid. We had 5 total bidders, which was a great turnout. The bid ranges from about 1.6 million up to 2.9 million, so pretty tight bid range there. There were a couple outliers at the high end of things. So we actually conducted 2 post-bid interviews, one with the low contractor, which is Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating, and the second low bidder with Eagle Excavation. Eagle Excavation was few dollars higher than Cordis Brothers, but we certainly wanted to give them an opportunity to post bid, make sure that they had a complete scope of work. Eagle Excavation also performed the earthwork and site work at the adjacent library several years ago, so they were familiar with the site. So both had very strong numbers. So, but after post bid, everything vetted out well with Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating. There are a couple alternates that I'll walk you through here that have been discussed with the building committee and the project team. The first is alternate number 1, asphalt paving. So this is an additional section of roadway that was for price protection. We wanted to make sure that base bid was a gravel drive and parking lot area. This alternate upgrades that, if you will, from going gravel to asphalt pavement. Alternate number 2 is additional parking spaces in themselves, kind of some expansion area. Alternate 3 are some timber bollards around the parking areas, and that was one of the requirements from the bid package itself through the state of Michigan. Alternate number 4 was an additional exercise station. We call that Station B, as in Bravo. Alternate 5 are some additional sidewalks around the park area. So after discussion with the project team, we are proposing alternates 1, 3, and 5 be accepted. Again, that's the asphalt paving is alternate 1, alternate 3 are the timber bollards, and alternate 5 are the additional sidewalks. Those alternates add up to about $230,000 and change. So when we take the low bid from Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating in combination with the proposed accepted alternates that they provided at time of bid, and their performance and bonds, those equate to $1,907,400. So that's what the award recommendation is for you tonight. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board members at this time? I know we've kind of gone over this. This is the second big go-round. And for the benefit of the folks in the audience and also on the cable audience, we had a bidding process that went out, and due to some errors or technical difficulties trying to get the contract to go in the proper sequence and swing, and as was mentioned earlier, there was a hard start date and a hard stop date. And unfortunately, we just essentially ran out of time last year due to these difficulties. So that's why the township has looked to move forward with the contract for this year. And seeing as there's a lot of activity down there, it'll be good that it can be coordinated, and it'll be good that it can be coordinated by McCarthy and Smith, because you guys are going to be playing each other's backyard for a little bit in some spots. So that's sort of the reasons. The project itself is in scope, is listed on our website, on our Park and Rec site. You can go to it, and you can come in and take a look at the plan and see what's happening. Is there any questions immediately from the board at this time?
I've got a question.
Mr. Ruggles.
I don't know if I missed it, Aaron, but did it talk about how many subcontractors they would be bringing in on the project?
So, good question. So Cordis, the way this contract is written and mandated by the state, it's bid out to one contract, which goes to Cordis Brothers Trucking and Excavating. They then subcontract several items within their contract. By business, they're an earthwork and site work contractor, site work and utility contractor. They will be subcontracting out asphalt paving, concrete curb and gutter, landscaping. There's a dock system that's going to be going in. They'll subcontract out that and have it installed by the dock manufacturer, and perhaps one or two others. I can follow up with you on that list of each individual contractor, but I would say there's half a dozen or so that will be subcontracted.
And you'll go over all that with them? You'll vet these guys?
We did, yeah, we did the post-bid interview, yes, sir, yep.
No, I mean all the subs.
All the subs we did, yeah,
Yeah,
correct,
you did that?
yep.
Okay,
We did.
good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and we knew all of them, I think, except for one, which they had done a lot of work with previously, and it was a smaller scope.
Great.
Mr. O'Neill,
No,
Mr.
go ahead.
Anderson. No. Mr. O'Neill, have anything you want to add or any
No,
commentary?
I don't have anything to add. I think that, Cordis is over there working right now. I think this will be seamless. I think there's a lot of advantage coming around this way to having the person who's already doing the site work on our current project working down there in the park, because, anytime you've got companies working, shoulder to shoulder in there could be bumps in the road or, overlaps or seams. So I think that is sort of going to take care of itself. So I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, I think that's a remedy. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, one question, Aaron, about the idea of any type of overages. As far as, is that something that the subcontractors are going to negotiate with you? Or is it, do they come back to us?
Sure, so there's we've included several allowances
Saw that.
inside
Yeah.
the bid, which is good. That protects us from the unknowns, especially when it comes to earthwork. We're not really forecasting any changes here. It's a pretty easy, simple scope of work. The items that are unknown as earthwork measures, undercutting, things of that sort, we've accounted for with allowances. If unused, those allowances get credited back to the township.
Okay,
But
that was
those
my
all,
next question.
any change that's brought to our attention gets vetted by our team. And also with Brian Barrick, with Beckett and Rader. If we're both in agreement, then we would come to you and walk you through the reason for a change, but we're not anticipating much at all in terms of change orders.
And the last one, you've worked with Cordis before?
Yes, sir. A long time.
And you feel very comfortable?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, and they're currently doing a great job right now.
Right,
And
that's-
they're really banging the drum. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I'm just super excited to get this going for our residents and get it open by the end of the year. That'd be great.
Yeah, get it launched. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion. Andrea?
Make a motion to approve, hang on, I'll get to it. To approve Cordis Brothers, thank you. The contract award the contract recommendation of $1.9 million to Cordis Brothers.
$1,907,400 to be
Yep.
exact.
Support.
Subject and allow the supervisor to sign all documents.
Correct. You got it.
Got that, Hannah?
Roll call.
It'll be a roll call. We need support?
Support.
I have
already
support.
said support.
Yeah, Liz did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I have support from,
Don't make Hannah
Trustee
work
Smith?
harder.
and roll call vote, please.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Supervisor Kowal?
Yes.
Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. And thank you for the very detailed information. Next item is going to be just a discussion that came before the board last month, which was the opportunity to go after a grant from the Department of Natural Resources, matching grant up to $500,000. We were directed, myself and Mr. Ruggles, to have a conversation with Park and Rec, and Mr. Ruggles is going to enlighten us.
Sure, yeah. So Supervisor and myself attended the Parks and Rec meeting last Thursday. We had a discussion with Trustee Voorhees, along with the rest of the board, and we went over some of the options in this, the second phase of this grant we can apply for. So assuming that grants still exist in the future, because it looks like maybe they're frozen or going away, but we can still apply for it and potentially get something. But what we learned in the meeting was that we can go at this grant differently than we did in phase one. Phase one, as we just awarded, we just put the entire project out and they bid on doing the entire thing, where we have the opportunity to itemize it and we can do it in-house. So we could take a look at something like restroom, storage building, identify somebody who's an expert, local, White Lake business, and get bids on specific items to try to keep value in-house rather than get gouged on a giant project like we've been experiencing. So I think that could benefit us a great deal because we have a lot of experience in-house. There's a lot of local contractors that could perform these services. And like we've seen, and Aaron could probably talk about, typical percentage that a general contractor would take, like Cordis on the things he's gonna sub out could be 10 to 20%, right? So that's 10 to 20% we could keep here. Not to mention, getting a better deal on a, itemized, like a picnic pod or a picnic shelter. So we met with the Parks and Rec, and they were in favor of doing a full match, 500,000 to 500,000. And I met with Sean, I met with Finance Department, and the Parks and Rec fund balance will be 1.5 million minimum. So I don't think that 500,000 is a stretch. They have plenty of funds in their account. And so we were just looking for direction on the scope. We need to figure out what items we'd like to include in the grant application. So one thing I learned was the stuff that you include in the scope, you have to do a minimum of one. So like if we put restroom storage building, we're gonna do one of those, obviously. If we do picnic pods, we could say we want 4, but we only have to deliver 1 with the grant. So trying to figure out what the scope would be and what the budget is and what we could include is kind of what we're talking about tonight, so. If that helps.
Yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. And essentially, how it was kind of collaborated and through Brian's vision and made sense to have a budget and then build to the budget. So if we go for the 500,000, then we will work collaboratively with Park and Rec to design to the 500,000. One of the things that I think everybody knows that we really need, and also which was, we were told high on the points scale, was a bathroom facility building that we're proposing to do. And there are some other things that we're going to get all of the nuts and bolts and the information on. So I would say at this point that we should work closely with Beckett and Rader and try to collaborate with the items that we have on this list. For example, if we decide to throw let's just say we wanted to put a pickleball court in this particular phase of it, we would be mandated to do it with this. So that should probably come at another phase because of the cost associated with that. As Scott says, we say we want to do 4 picnic pods or 6 picnic pods, and we only have, at the end of the day, enough money to do 1, we still meet the requirements of the grant. So that's really what's kind of important, fall within those categories. And there's ongoing grants. And last year, they funded, 80% of the grants?
Yep.
I think it was like.
I think that's what
It was like 80% of the grants that were applied for were funded. When you get into projects like this, because there are some certain requirements that not all the communities have the expertise at doing with their consultants, so it tends to be a little less competitive. So I would say we probably stand a better than average chance of attaining this grant, but yet it's still yet to be determined in December, I believe. And
That's when the decision will
It's
be
the
made.
decision is made.
Application is due April 1st.
Correct, and then we wouldn't even be able to get things rolling. So we're probably really looking for this particular phase of the phase 2, probably construction in the summer of '27.
Yep,
That would be a realistic approach to it. So I think the Park and Rec and Brian and the board, pretty well know what we want to try to make happen. It's just we have to design it to within those dollars and cents. So do we raise the building that's down there? Do we build a new one? Do we build a smaller one? How do we incorporate all these things? This still has to be put together yet, and that's what I would like to continue to work closely with Beckett and Rader to put that information together for the grant application, so.
I just, on behalf of Parks and Rec, I just want to thank Brian and you guys, Scott and Rick, for coming out on the snowy night to be part of our meeting. We appreciate you guys coming out. So I got a lot of compliments after the meeting for that, so thank you.
Good, glad it worked out. So I guess the direction from the board is to try to work to the optimum plan that we can based on the $500,000 match. And it's kind of like, we're going to kind of reverse engineer. And,
Yeah.
Can we talk about
I have a
scope and
question.
detail tonight?
pardon?
Can we talk about scope and detail tonight, or we do it at the next meeting?
So you really kind of need to do it a little bit tonight, kind of hit those highlights, because Brian will need to know to put the package together, because there'll actually be a public hearing. We're sending it to the paper tomorrow. Parks and Rec has to hold the required public hearing before you guys take action on the resolution, allowing us to move ahead with the grant. And that'll happen a month from now. So the Parks and Rec Committee will hold their required public hearing on the 17th, which is the Monday right before your Tuesday meeting. So we're in a really tight timetable, and that's fine. And we have a plan, which is great. It's just a matter of trying to identify the budget, which you've already, I think, preliminarily done. And then now what scope items beyond the ones that have obviously been discussed will fall into that plan. And then how do you approach it with the state? Like the supervisor mentioned, once you mention that you're going to do something, you can't just say after the fact when you go, either the bids come back unfavorable or you change your mind later. It's a whole process then to kind of do that later. It's not a process to go from 4 picnic pods down to 2. It is to go from 1 bathroom building down to 0. We can't do that. So I think tonight, and I think Brian, and I don't want to put him on the spot right now, but I think there's a way to approach this and word it in such a way that we give ourselves flexibility, and the state's accepting of that. They understand that in this process, there are a lot of moving parts, and we don't know, today what the prices will be, what the desirability will be for all the amenities we're planning for construction, 2 years from now. But so they do allow a little bit of flexibility. So you could, for example, say, provide a restroom and storage building. Well, whether we renovate what's there or tear down what's there and build new, you're still providing it. So how we get there, they're not so worried about. It's that we're providing what we said we would. So there's a way to kind of approach that. Brian's knowledgeable about that process as well. So I think,
One thing to keep in mind too, when we put on there just restroom and storage building, it doesn't say that we have to build a $600,000 bathroom. It could be just a $100,000 bathroom or less. So there's flexibility on size, material, all those things. So
It's just we have to have a project. If we choose a project, we have to do the project. Yes,
I have a
trustee
question.
Smith.
I'm pretty familiar with this. I worked with Parks and Rec. I want to say it goes like 2020 to 22
Yeah, I
time
agree.
period, and we determined the amenities and the phases and all that good stuff. So I'm comfortable with the plan, but my question is kind of where Sean was going, is formulating how we're going to present it to the state. Can we say, instead of exercise station or pickleball court, can we say like recreation area or fitness area, and then backwards the budget where we do what we have
We're going to have the
funds
expert.
and able,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
going
to
to
do
have the expert
that?
answer that question.
Yeah, that would be my biggest question, when we choose the scope, can we be a little vague?
We can be to some extent. It needs to be specific enough that the state understands what we're promising to provide. The example of the restroom building that you just gave was great, that we can say we're providing a restroom building, but whether that's 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet, we don't need to necessarily specify the size or the materials of it. In terms of other elements, I think the exercise station, that is something that we would need to say exercise station, but it doesn't necessarily, we don't necessarily need to specify scale. It could be something large or it could be something very small.
So for me, I would prefer pickleball courts over exercise station for the benefit of our residents. I want to make this park fun. That's a big goal of mine, that you come here and there's things to do and the recreation is enjoyed. So if we're able to do pickleball courts, that would be my goal. If we're not, can we back it up then and do exercise? So can we call that area something different and not separate them, have both them labeled? Can it be like recreation area or fitness area?
Unfortunately, it does need to be more specific
Has to
than
be more
that.
specific. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, the goal is to certainly maximize the value for the township's dollars that are being put into the project. $1 million project with $500,000 coming from the township and $500,000 coming from the grant. You know, I think we just need to be cautious about what we promise within that we certainly want to maximize the dollars, but we don't want to put the township in a position where what we promise exceeds the budget, which either requires the township to decline the grant or put in additional money out of pocket. So, like I said, we want to maximize the features and the opportunities that we're giving the residents, but we want to do so in a budget-conscious way to protect us in the future.
This is, we have to choose amenities without a budget. So maybe we should have been presented like a rough budget first.
Well, so we've got kind of an estimate here that Aaron helped with, but these are estimates.
Yeah.
And it's 2 years out,
Right.
so we didn't want to hang our hat on anything real firm here, but that's kind of a guess.
Yeah. So some of the, and I'm sure you've seen it in your packet, but some of the elements that have been discussed thus far are the restroom building, a shelter down by the lakefront, and the picnic pods that Rick was mentioning earlier.
Those seem to be the most impactful because they would be used quite a bit. Obviously, the restrooms and that nature, so.
No, I agree that those items residents would enjoy them and they'd be used. But if we're gonna add one more thing, or we don't need to do that right now?
Well, I don't know, from the numbers that we looked at and explored, I don't believe we could
Probably pushing it.
afford a pickleball court. That's the only problem.
What does a
So-
pickleball court cost, Brian? Any idea?
There's a huge range depending on materials and quality.
We don't want
So
gold, but
it's,
like asphalt. What about asphalt?
Yeah, so there,
Round pickleball courts? No, can't do that.
Asphalt
I'm not a
stripes.
pickleballer, so I've,
Are you a tenniser?
no.
Gotta be a specific court.
There's a
certificate.
range, there's a range, Brian?
there is a range, anywhere from around $75,000 per court upwards from there.
Okay. So Liz, you brought up a great point. You want to have some fun stuff down there.
Yeah,
So let's not spend the whole million on a bathroom.
Right.
Right?
I agree with Liz. I don't think anybody's going to use the exercise area. It's a waste. It shouldn't be included. Look over at Trailside Meadow. They're taking theirs out because nobody uses it.
there's enough exercising here. It's a huge park. You can go
Well, and-
walk and run the trails.
You actually, Phase 1 has one exercise station already. The one that was in
We're
there.
not doing it.
That was that was the ad alternate we did not include, and that's another amenity. Like, again, we proposed two, we're taking one away. We're good with the grant, we're good with the state, but to your point, we would be better off adding something different instead of two of the same thing. People are gonna come
Be
there.
little kids, they're not going to use it,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Just my thought.
What's a splash pad cost?
No, you're already.
That would be, yeah, the combination of the restroom building and splash pad would be well over $1 million, yeah.
And there's no utilities down there to support it, so. That's not the best location. There are other locations we can do. So right now with the current budget that we're kind of ghosting around at, Scott, can you hand me that sheet? I just want to double check something.
It's crazy, so.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of room here, unfortunately, when you're always thinking about it. The Lakeside Pavilion, we have the ability to determine how big that can be as long as we provide one. So that
Correct.
would give us a lot of flexibility in that particular area. So as much as I would like to see that come in to play this time around, I think on this particular
Pass that
case,
down when you're done.
yep,
Oh, yeah,
I think
alright.
we're going to be hard pressed to make that work.
Like, do you just want to put in a bathroom in a dog park?
Sure. I'm all for dog park.
So the the replacement of the remodel of the bathroom picnic facility building and picnic pods up to 4, and a lakeside pavilion would be what I would recommend, because that gives us the ability to adjust the picnic pods, gives us the ability to adjust the size of the bathroom facility, and it gives us the ability to adjust the size and scope of work in the pavilion. All 3 of them have flexibility. So, and I think we could budget and design for that budget these particular projects. And that was, I think, also what the Park and Rec was looking at
Yep.
as a recommendation to move forward with those particular items.
Any way to squeeze in anything else that's fun? If you think of something else that we can afford once that's,
Sure, we
figure out
can,
the cost.
absolutely, we can continue to evaluate that. I think what the supervisor just outlined is probably at our budget. But as we start to refine the numbers, if there's room, we can certainly add, yeah.
Play area's not on here.
You remember those big metal 30-foot slides from when we were kids? Do they still make those?
I'd have to ask Lisa's opinion on that from a liability standpoint. Yeah. So, and if we're going to go all the way, let's do one out in the lake, right? Yeah.
We all lived, right?
Yeah. No seatbelts, things of that nature.
Babies are pretty hot in July too. You gotta get off. Yeah, you can't sit at the end.
Any other input from this end of the table?
Do you want to, would it make sense to give an additional item that the board would like to add? And obviously with Andrea knowing kind of what the Parks group is interested in. So if we get down to, like Brian said, the end of it, and there's something else that could be added in, it would be great to know what that item might be. And obviously pickleball is popular, pickleball is desired. It'd be great if we were gonna put one in to put 2 in. Maybe just want to put 1, but if that's $150,000 to put a pair of them down there, that's going to be pretty tough on the budget. But if maybe 1 works for you and we can fit that in, I'm just trying to think of one more item we can add as a, let's say, wish list item.
An add alternate?
Right, a wish list item that could become, if there's room in the budget, part of that application. But again, knowing that if it goes in and there's 1 of them, we can't omit it. I mean, you could scrap one of the picnic pods to save a little bit. You've got a couple of them in there, but that's the only kind of fallback position would be, elimination of that.
Go ahead, Brian.
Thinking about the puzzle pieces that we're fitting together and leaving ourselves flexibility for the future, if there is an additional element that we want to hold in reserve, I would suggest that it be something relatively small. That way, we can squeeze that into the budget, and it's not a huge commitment from a grant perspective.
Okay, so my question would be, if we have this wish list item hanging out there, does it have to be from what we chose in phase 2? Because I think it's in phase 3 at some point in the plan. There's a basketball court up in the top parking lot, but it's like a dual use. It's a parking lot with lines that you could play basketball into,
Right,
hoops.
right.
Can we choose from other phases, or it has to be out of phase 2?
No, it could be anything that's on the master plan.
I think we can afford a basketball court that's already, you're just adding some hoops.
I support that.
Yeah, I would too.
Maybe it could moonlight as pickleball.
Maybe you could have a net that comes out.
Another great idea.
Portable net, yeah.
Volleyball
it's
net.
two
Volleyball
birds.
would be great.
And I mean, the only other option, if you're gonna add pickleball, knowing what the cost is, then it would have to be done with an understanding that you may go over the $500,000 budget. And there's room to do that if you so choose. There's still $1 million in reserve, but that would have to be obviously the board saying, okay, if this comes back and it's $1.1 million by adding that, then you're willing to spend 6 instead of the 5 that we initially had thought about. Because anything that goes over the million, like Brian said, becomes the township's responsibility if you accept the grant.
Right.
Who's the grant through again, Sean?
The state, DNR, sort of like the same, basically the same thing as Phase 1.
You're right. It's administered through the state, but it's actually federal funds from Land and Water Conservation
Water,
Fund. Yeah. So, and that brings with it, a little bit more restriction than the, like the Natural Resources Trust Fund, which is purely state money.
That's why we had to hire the herpetologist.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm with you, Liz. Something fun.
Something fun. I mean, I think
Pickleball, basketball, something.
something to go there and do.
Yeah, yeah.
Meet people and hang out and something kids would enjoy. Right now, there's
Paddleboard
not
is
an
cheaper, isn't
activity.
What do you say?
They can-
Paddleboarding?
No, we're not going to have separate.
We'll have a dock out there. They could do that.
No, paddle
Paddleboard.
Paddleball?
tennis? What is it called? Paddle?
Balling.
I think that's pickleball.
That's
It's
pickleball.
not pickle, it's
Pickleball.
paddle.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Table tennis?
No,
We could do
it's,
table tennis. That's cheap.
do you not know what I'm talking about? It's,
Shuffleboard.
it has walls,
Oh, you're talking about racquetball or
it's
handball?
not racquetball.
Racquetball or
Is
handball?
it played in America?
Sorry, I
Where's-
forget I said anything. I know there's some in Grosse Pointe because I played there. And it's like a platform and it has walls, but clear walls. And it can even be heated
I lie.
That sounds fancy and expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
because I said Grosse Pointe.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds very expensive.
Heated, yeah.
Very
It
expensive.
was
Gotta
really
remember, we're in
fun.
White Lake.
Yeah.
There's good, better, best. We gotta get in the middle.
Somewhere
You
in
know,
the
we don't need
Find
the
out what it's
best.
called.
The three things that were, like, activity-wise that were planned in here was a playscape area, pickleball, and basketball court. And we and exercise, but we ex-nate the exercise station. So out of those three things, it would be one pickleball court maybe, or basketball. That's probably all we can squeeze in.
Uh-oh.
What did you say, Brian, the cost of the pickleball? Because I know that, like over at Wall Lake Central, they turned the tennis courts into pickleball courts.
Right,
And
right.
they had said that that was very expensive to convert them.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to be able to figure out exactly your best guesstimate, and maybe you said what it was.
Yeah, absolutely bare bones would probably be around 75,000 per court.
Per court.
I think a more realistic cost per court is probably about 125,000.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think
Isn't
they
it just
spent,
asphalt and stripes? I mean, what am I missing?
And fence.
yeah.
Fence.
Yeah.
Is that mandatory? Not really.
You'll be chasing the ball everywhere if there's not a
Somebody
fence.
will.
The kids will, right?
That's part of the exercise.
That's the activity for the
can't
kids,
afford
is
the fence,
chasing the
that's fine.
pickleball.
Are they asphalt?
They can be asphalt or concrete or post-tension concrete.
Ones I played on
Yeah.
concrete,
Concrete?
yeah.
Concrete, yeah. The problem with the asphalt, you got too much wave in it, no matter what, over time.
Yeah.
Concrete tends to be much more stable.
You gotta
It
resurface
has a
the
lot of
asphalt.
longevity.
Have it, yeah.
Do we have any courts in White Lake?
Anthony
No.
wants
No.
tetherball.
No,
No.
closest one is at.
And the
Wall
ones
Lake
at the
Center.
Richardson Center in Commerce are always booked. They're super popular. Pickleball is a big deal.
Platform,
Maybe we can bring back tetherball.
platform tennis.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
We could afford that, right?
That's pretty good.
Pretty cheap, right?
Platform
The rope's not
tennis
gonna last
courts.
long enough.
Use the chain.
Platform tennis courts.
That's even more expensive. Yeah, that's why it's in Grosse Pointe.
Yeah, other activities that I think we talked about during the master plan process, but fell to maybe lower priorities. One of them was disc golf, maybe not a full course,
Yeah.
but having a few cages.
Yeah, we
So that
super
could be,
explored that, and Sean and I explored that with a group of residents. Remember years ago, the disc golf?
There were a couple that were very interested, but I don't know how widely
Yeah.
it would be sought after, but yeah.
but that would be something relatively inexpensive that would still be a program element for grant points.
I think that's more of like a niche than
And there's a whole
basketball or pickleball or something that more people would use.
a lot smaller.
So, excuse me, one question to you, Sean. When you were talking about that, a public hearing for Parks and Rec that's going to come in that Monday before we do, are we setting the expectations that the feedback from the township or from the constituents are going to impact what we decide or what we move to? Because I could just see them saying, yeah, we want a pickleball, we want this, we want that, we want that. So I'm just wondering, how are you going to regulate or control that?
I mean, timing obviously is tough because it's the day before you guys would meet, but that's just, that there is no quorum of the Parks Committee for the regular March meeting, so it had to be moved to another date, so that's why it's falling back. But I think it's like everything else. I mean, really, it comes to the Parks Committee to make a recommendation based on that input and you to make the determination with the dollars that are available. So I think, obviously, any information collected during that public hearing will be brought to the meeting then that next night. And if you decide to make, changes to what's included, that's something that Brian will still have time to be able to sort of swap out. But again, it's kind of in a hurry because we've got to get it in by, April 1st. And so, yeah, we'll do our best to, tack one direction or another if there is a, real desire from the public to do something different. But again, the scope has to be somewhat limited because of the budget and because of some of the things that the Parks Committee and the board really want to do, which is, bathroom facilities for people who come to the park, storage for implements and other maintenance things that are required at the park, and that's a big ticket item.
Aaron, do you have?
Sean actually just said the same thing.
Okay, all right. That's not something you want to add.
He's just
All
trying to
right,
make me look
well,
good.
we need to make a decision. So we need to make a decision so that we can give Brian some direction. And again, the recommendation from the Park and Rec Committee was replacement or remodel of bathroom/picnic facility building, picnic pods up to 4, and the lakeside pavilion. And when we did the math, those worked within that realm, and having the ability to pull out a picnic pod or two if need be was an option. I don't think there's enough money to, as much as I would like to see that done, I would think I would rather see us go through another grant process and be able to build 2, maybe 3 courts and make it a worthy project. But I think with 1 court down there, people are just going to get frustrated, especially if you start to get a following.
What is a picnic pod?
Picnic pod is what was discussed. It is a area that comes off the hard surface pavement that has a concrete pad or hard surface pad that a table can be placed on so that people with any mobility issues or have the ability to get to an actual picnic
So
table.
it's a picnic table.
And, well, they call it a pod because it's the concrete, the table, and a grill that just sets outside of it.
It's ADA compliant, so they
Yeah.
can get to and back from there. in a
Those can't
wheelchair.
be that expensive though, are they? A
Well-
Picnic pod?
These numbers are high, that's why I brought up trying to identify some of these things in-house so we could correct what I'm seeing, but the picnic pod on here, and Brian, you can correct me, it includes more than just the pod itself, right? It includes getting to the pod and back and things like that.
Right, right.
But they've got it as high as $40,000
For one?
for one. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So they've also
Well,
got
that's
the exercise
inflated
station at $50,000. So it looks like, Mr. Supervisor, if you were to substitute exercise for pickleball, that might be a reality.
Yeah, I don't have a problem if you want to make the recommendation. I'm just
just
going
saying.
based on what Park and Rec suggests.
So keep in mind, these numbers, right, they're a forecast. And, we haven't picked out things like quality, materials, sizes, any of those things. So that's a conversation for another day, but these, I think we can do a lot better job than what we're seeing on this piece of paper. I sure hope so anyways.
And just following up on that, but if we do sub it out and it becomes 100 or 125 instead of the 50, then there's quite possibly going to be an overage of $50,000 or $75,000 in that scenario that then would have to come from the Parks Fund, which again has the money to do it. It just has to be something that you guys are both aware of and supportive of.
That's all.
Was that discussed, Andrea, at the meeting? Is the committee
Yeah,
supportive of
these
if it goes
it was a
over?
choir meeting, but we definitely, some of those words came out.
Were they willing to go ahead and add additional funds if it,
That
out of
part-
out of the budget?
They weren't, I mean, that wasn't discussed, but I would say they weren't. I mean,
They weren't against
no,
doing that?
because we're a pro park group. We're all volunteer. That's a,
This has all gone through Parks and Rec. They want all of this,
Yeah.
you know, the whole plan to come to fruition. So
Right.
somehow it's got to get there.
I mean, but they all know it's gonna be in stages, so it's not it's not gonna be one and done. They're all aware of that.
I think we should consider swapping out the exercise station for one pickleball court and backup B, if we can't do that, the basketball court.
But are you talking about basketball court in the parking lot, striped off?
Yeah, that's
or
the only basketball court that's planned for this. It's striped off in the top parking lot.
So the mobile goals just stay out there?
The what?
Mobile basketball goals, hoops?
Probably be
The
a
bas-
half court.
Half court?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think they were mobile, like we'd cement them into the ground.
Well, the
Parking lot?
difficulty is in the parking lot. That's why it
Parking
would
lot, you
probably
can't
just
do
be a half court.
Right, half court that you put that, okay.
Yeah, that's what was anticipated in the master
Yeah.
plan. Yeah. So just to make sure I'm understanding your suggestion correctly, trustee Smith. So for the base project, the restroom building, the shelter by the lake, picnic pods, and then if we're able to work it within the estimate, holding sort of the pickleball or basketball as reserve. Is that correct? Okay.
I think we should accomplish the three things that everybody's.
Ask. Yeah.
Okay, so replace and remodel bathroom, picnic, bathroom picnic facility building, picnic pods,
How many?
up to 4. Lakeside Pavilion,
We don't need
undetermined.
4, Rick, do we?
It's up
It's
to.
up to. It
Oh,
doesn't
up to.
mean we have to. As in this,
Up
as in this process, as long as you,
Up to.
okay, up to
Yeah.
4 Lakeside Pavilion and pickleball, 1 pickleball court
Two-
or
two
half court.
pickleball. You have to have
Half
2
court.
pickleball courts.
Yeah.
And
You'll
you
never
can't-
get it in the
you
budget.
can't just, well,
Get rid
it's
of
up
some-
to.
Up to.
It's up to.
Up to.
Up to 2.
It's like up to 4.
I like that.
I mean, if we
I
end
like
up doing
that.
really well through this process, by some stroke of luck, we can do it. Or
Yeah.
it's not much over the budget and you guys say, hey, we'll spend an extra 50 grand to
Yeah.
get this.
I got the
Or get rid of-
treasurer to come
Can you just call
around.
them
Yeah.
courts?
You
Like,
don't
do you
need
even
4
have to say we're doing a
picnic
pickleball
pods.
or basketball
Yeah,
court?
you
Can we just say
don't
up
need
to
4.
3 courts?
Could you say sports courts?
Sports
Money for the
courts?
second.
They could be multi-sport courts.
Multi-sport.
Multi-sports courts, there we go.
Grant
Yeah.
application that you want for doesn't mean you're going to do.
If that's a way to phrase this,
Well,
that would
these
give
two-
us
these two
flexibility, Brian, and you think that would work, then I think that's a smart
I think
idea.
that works because if we can't do the pickleball, then we just do the basketball. Multi-use sports court.
May I make a motion?
We're going in the right direction here,
That's
Mr.
what we're gonna call
Supervisor.
it.
May I make a motion? Anybody can interrupt me along the way. Okay. I make a motion to approve in the plan the replacement or remodel of the bathroom picnic facility building, picnic pods, I'll leave it at that, Lakeside Pavilion, dual pickleball court or half-court basketball.
No, we're gonna call it multi-use sports court.
Brian
No, 'cause
says
it
if
wouldn't be
we,
in the same place.
He said that we could call it that.
We can.
You could?
You can move them around, too.
We could call it that. The location can be determined as
Well,
long
yeah,
as we provide the element.
I understand location, but I'm just saying, but
Multi-use.
is it just a multi-use court?
It could be.
Okay, so we'll,
It would have to be, it would have to be scheduled if there are people there playing pickleball
Right.
and somebody else wants to come play
okay,
basketball.
Hannah, we'll back it up and say multi-use court. One multi-use court, correct?
Up to.
Two,
Up
up to.
2 multi-use courts.
And if I may clarify, the multi-use court would be sort of held in reserve as we're figuring out the budget.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. I made that in the form of a motion, look for support.
Support.
I have motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, got your marching orders. Good luck.
Thank you.
Do we have to make a
Find some money,
motion on the
Brian.
grant, man?
Yeah, I agree.
Not out of our pockets, though.
That's, come on with the application.
Kinda gonna be a little
Donations?
creative.
Good job.
Okay, item C, Resolution 25002 to refund the balance of funds collected in a special assessment district of Northern Emergency Sewer Connections 2015-01. I can't believe it's already been
Yeah.
paid up and is in good shape. Great.
Yeah, before you tonight, you have a resolution refunding 6 parcels that had emergency sewer connections installed in 2015. At that time, the installations and the special assessments were set up with contingencies in the assessments, and these are the overpaid amounts for each of the parcels that we're refunding. Currently, as we move forward, Aaron's team is having the property hooked up completely. We have an exact cost, and the special assessments are on the exact cost. So eventually, on these emergency sewers, we'll be done refunding the overpaid due to contingencies. With that, I'll take any questions.
It's a great mechanism. This is absolutely fantastic. I just can't believe it's been 10 years already.
Yeah.
It seems like yesterday we were trying to put this all together. So I see that the amounts are there. When would the refund go out?
As soon as with the board's approval, I know that this is really Elaine's bailiwick. She's aware of this. She's the one that put me on this to.
With the next 30 days?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 25-002 to refund balance of emergency sewer connections 2015-01 Special Assessment District.
Second that.
I have motion, I have support from Mr. Noble. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, David. That time of year again. It's not warm enough yet, but it's on its way. Resolution 25003, Goose Roundup Twin Lake Village Improvement Association, Tall Lake, 2025 through 2029. Anybody want to shake up the eggs, or do you got something to say?
I'll make it the motions
Okay?
to approve resolution number 25-003 for the Canadian Goose Nest Egg Distribution for the years 2025 to 2029.
Support.
I have a comment, I'm sorry. This resolution's like pre-filled out, so do we need to do something about that?
No, it's got the 25003 on it.
Right, but it says that it's offered by Clerk Noble and seconded by Trustee Ruggles. But now it's Andrea's motion.
He was directing us
It'll
what to do.
get tweaked when it's
Yeah.
finalized and signed by the
Yeah,
clerk's
yeah,
office.
Okay.
We'll tweak that.
We usually
we go
put
through it.
blanks, but sometimes people put it in, but
Yeah,
it'll get
normally it's like
revised.
XX or a
Yeah.
blank line or something, but this one
No, we'll
was,
correct it as soon as we get
Okay,
through with the motion.
we have motion from Andrea Voorhees,
Supported.
support from Mr. Roman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Off to the goose chase. Mr. Roman, next item is yours.
Yeah, so Elaine had budgeted money to come out of general, police, and fire to be moved to improvement revolving to help pay for new buildings. We took that money and added to it what fire and police would have given to retiree healthcare this year. We're going to kind of pass on that as our retiree healthcare fund is doing very well, and put that amount into these transfers, and that's kind of where we came up with these totals. And then, of course, we rounded them to 500,000 each. So I'm asking the board today to approve moving money from general, police, and fire to the improvement revolving fund in the amount of 500,000 for each fund. And I will put that in the form of a motion.
Well, I see a hand up for a question.
No question, just a concern.
Chief?
I know I am just expressing my concern. You guys are gonna do what you're gonna do, but there comes a point, and since I've been here in 2016 as chief, I put money into the fund balance every year knowing that this would come. But when you put the police and fire in a unique position where we are set from our millage that we get from individuals. We don't take any money from the township. The other unique position that you put us in is that you plan on us paying for the building out of our operating funds, which is unusual because the day-to-day operations millages that we get usually go to the day-to-day operations. I'm okay with both of those, but the well is only so deep and you keep taking from the well. There's got to become a point in time where you stop taking from the well. For the sole purpose to keep public safety at a high level of service for the citizens of White Lake. I know that we had talked about $1 million and now it's at $1.5 million, and that's fine. I'm just saying, like, we have to be cognizant of what we're taking out because 10 years down the road, we're gonna still be paying for this building and it's gonna come out of our operating funds. And I don't want my predecessor or the people who are gonna take the position after me to be put in a deficit, or at the, I wanna make sure that the citizens of White Lake still have the level of service that we have today. And I'm not saying anything about taking the money. If you take the money, you take the money. I'm just saying, please be cognizant of the fact that this is a prolonged amount of money that's going to be taken out for the next 20 or 30 years. And we have to have some to run the police department, the fire department, at the level that we have today. And that's it. I'm just expressing my concern. That's it.
Understood.
Understood. Any comment, Chief?
Yeah, my comment would mirror Chief Keller's. Long-term, I don't know how this is going to impact my budget. I don't know. I know when this money's removed, we've already given $1 million, it's coming out of my 004M. My 004M does not renew. That's not renewable. That's a millage that ran out. It was pretty healthy, but it's starting to dwindle. We're going to have a bond commitment with some uncertainty. I don't know what that commitment level is going to be once the bond money, we have to start paying that back. I have no idea. So it could be out of operations. And also, I have a financial commitment to an ambulance purchase that's coming up this spring. That's pretty significant. So, and I'm not trying to sound difficult. This, like any organization, we're not going to agree on everything. But I think it's important, and I agree with Chief Keller, that you do hear us and hear our concerns. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Mr. Roman.
I'll just say the board has always kept an eye on police and fire budgets. We put through some pretty nice pay raises because it was the right thing to do. And just know that these have all been run by our finance director. If she thought these were putting you in peril, believe me, she would have told us. So, but that said, I understand your points and your points are well taken.
Thank you, sir.
And understanding that there is a significant offset in lieu of the contribution to the retirement benefits. So it's not just a direct hit. So
I would be remiss if I didn't say something. It's just part of my.
Understand.
We understand.
Well, there was some area that needed to be clarified and was clarified earlier today. So. Mr. Roman?
Oh, yeah, I made a motion to approve these. I don't know that anyone supported.
It was not seconded at that time. I have a motion on the floor. Looking for a second.
Support.
I have motion and support. Roll call vote.
Clerk Noble, yes. Supervisor Kowal?
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
And Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item. Item F. As the board members know that we have one of the committees that we formulated was the DPS Advisory Committee. And through talks we have had in general and talks also related to the negotiations for the new contract with Commerce Township, it comes from the advice of Steve Jopik, who is a formed expert at Rosati and Schultz, Jopik and Ambruster. Did I say that right?
No.
I didn't say it right. Okay. Ambruler?
No.
I'll just let it go. Okay. That they highly recommended that we had a study done. We had not had one done in about 20 years, so we're a little behind the times. So we need this information in order to formulate the knowledge of the system as it currently is and for the future growth. So Mr. Roman and I have spent a lot of time going back and forth with this with Mr. Potter, and Mr. Powell also, and all of the members of that committee are in favor of the attorney's recommendation. And this would be at a cost of $31,825 to Santec. And they will bill us based on the amount of work that they're done in each respective month. Any questions or comments for Mr. Roman?
In the form of a motion?
I can make that in the form of a motion.
I'll support that motion.
Okay.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
So, we hadn't done it in 20 years. Great, we're doing it now. But is the cost $31,825 based on the idea of the size of the area that they have to go ahead and research, or how many
On our
people?
entire system.
On the entire system?
Period.
Okay. Do we know what the cost was 20 years ago?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay.
I'm sure it was like a loaf of bread.
Yeah, really,
So,
exactly.
But,
Not like eggs.
yeah. So there was
It's a
some,
pretty in-depth study.
Yeah.
It's
that's-
very
It
in-depth
seems
study.
like it should be.
and there are more than one reason to do this. There's a multitude of reasons. So it's very important.
Okay.
So I made the motion. Did you get that, Hannah?
I'll support it.
Mr. Roman supported it?
Oh.
Okay, right, Mr. Roman?
Beat you. Yeah, I did. I support it.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Supervisor Coe.
Yes, motion carries. Old business, second reading, consider amendment to Chapter 16 article of the Township Fire Code. This is the second reading, correct, Chief?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
so I think I don't have any questions on it. I don't know if anybody else on the board does. If not, I would like someone to propose motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading and consider amendment to Chapter 18, Article 2 of the Township Fire Code
For adoption.
for adoption.
I will support that. We have motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. 9B, second reading of rezoning request 4001 Karen Ridge. Mr. Underwood, this is pretty
Straightforward, yes. Last month you had
straightforward.
first reading. Mr. Latosis is in the audience if you have any questions for him as the applicant. And again, the recommendation is to move ahead with the requested rezoning.
No, I have no problem whatsoever with it, and I would look, any
I'd like to
questions?
make a motion.
Mr. Noble.
I'd like to make a motion for second reading and rezoning request 4001 Karen Ridge for adoption.
I'll support.
Motion from Mr. Noble, of support from Michael.
Sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next item is going to be trustee comments. Trustee Smith.
Okay, I'll be so quick. The Friends of the Library have a book sale coming up on March, I want to get the right date for you. Excuse me one second while I make sure. Oh, I just had it. Sorry. Thought it was going to be quick. There we go. March 12th through March 15th, Wednesdays for friends only. And as always, you can become a member at the door at the sale. And then they're continuing their celebration of 50 years this year at the library, so I encourage you to support them and check out their activities. And then lastly, I just want to mention February is Wear Red, which I didn't wear red today for women's heart health, but I encourage all women to go check out your heart. It's so important, and it affects all ages, of course. That's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Voorhees.
Good luck to the police department as they go for the Special Olympics polar plunge this weekend. It donates to the Special Olympics, which are near and dear to my heart. So good luck to them. Hopefully they have all met their goals. And in this polar vortex, like I said in January, look out for your neighbors and shovel if needed. Thanks.
That's it. Mr. Ruggles.
Thanks. Yeah, Andrea, I understand they're still looking for participants.
Pardon me?
They're still looking for people to jump in the water if you're.
I donated. I'll give you my money.
Short and sweet, our Planning Commission meeting on the 20th has been canceled. Our next meeting is March 6th. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Noble?
I'd like to, we just got our notices of assessment. I'd like to thank Director Heber for putting out a more user-friendly assessment. I get to watch every morning when I come in, him and his staff, when that time comes around. He does a great job, and his staff, everybody in that office explaining, the procedure on the property and makes it more conducive to, he advocates on behalf of the citizens, making it very,
He's the only assessor I know is excited to give money back.
yes.
Yeah.
So I commend him for it. He's been a great hire.
So,
That's it.
okay. Mr. Anderson?
Yes, okay. I just wanted to give you an update on as far as the ZBA. We had our meeting on the 23rd. We had 5 cases in front of us. 4 of them we passed, approved of. 1 we dismissed, mainly being able to, the applicant was not prepared. And if we would have voted on the idea of what the applicant presented, it wouldn't have gotten passed. So we sort of recommended that he'd come back and get his act together for that. I found out from Andrew that applicant has not decided to do anything additional, so we'll just wait. But the proud thing is that we got out of there 5 cases in 2 hours. So we're moving forward as far as getting the time frame on there. Our next scheduled time as far as with the ZBA is on 2/27, but that will actually be, we will not have that meeting. So information will be going out that we don't have anybody coming in front of us. Just want to let you know, the Lake Syria Chamber, I had met with Sydney, a few weeks ago, and I said that I'd be happy to go ahead and represent White Lake Township in some of the upcoming events, because she had asked about that. So the first event I was going to go to was the networking breakfast this morning.
Got canceled.
And that got canceled. So, but it is rescheduled for March the 4th. So and the last thing that I'd say is, and I'm really excited about being with my board members at the upcoming MTA. And I'm going to attend another training session prior to that to go ahead and help and be educated about my role as a trustee.
Very good. Mr. Roman?
I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Early for coming out today. We appreciate. Also, thanks to everybody tuning in today. Thanks for staying in touch. Property taxes are now late. If you still have property taxes, though, give us a call, find out what your balance is. You can still pay your taxes here at the township through the end of the month. Beginning March 1st, you have to pay them at the county, though. Other than that, that's all I had, Rick.
Very good. I want everybody to remember it's going to be colder than Billy be darned the next few nights. Please, if you bring your pets in, remind your neighbors to take their pets inside. It's going to be brutally cold. It's going to be in 0 and up to 3 below potentially next few days. Also be mindful of all your water spigots. And if you live in a very uninsulated house, keep your doors open underneath the kitchen sink. You'd be surprised how much heat that just a couple degrees difference can make a difference in your pipes freezing or not. So that's all important. Rhonda is going to be our polar bearess, or was, or is, or she was before. She's done it, so she's going to be doing it. I know I supported her, so kudos to the polar bear plunge and things that's putting up. Dave Heber, yep, a great move on his part. Like I said, I never saw an assessor excited about giving money back. The building foundation is moving along. We've got a considerable amount of walling in the public safety building and in the township hall, although drivers by cannot see it. We've also had another casualty out there on a street light because people just can't seem to understand what a roundabout's about. So we're gonna have some further discussions with the road commission regarding that matter and try to move forward.
Chief, you're getting used to those unique times, aren't you?
It's just, you can't make this stuff up, I'm telling you.
just
on
be
the
tied
opposite side of
together.
the road,
You could
right?
tie them together.
Well,
I
there,
just saw it on-
the problem is on the other side of the road where they bent the pedestal all out and they don't know if there's damage underground. That's the issue.
You can skip a lane.
So, any rate, we'll see how that all works out. I was slipped a note earlier. It said the earlies were going to make up the difference on the pickleball court. I certainly appreciate that. We'll make sure that your name is on the gate, okay? And you can actually come and put your fingers in the concrete. Well, the board really appreciates your generosity.
Customized paddles.
That's
too.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
I will also see our fellow township officials at the MTA in April, which is a good thing that we're going to, we got a little bit of time yet. Was something else I missed or? No? And with that, we're going to be going into closed session. That I'd like to move approval to recess in the executive session, the closed session to consider attorney-client privilege communication in accordance with MCL 15.2681H. That is in the form of a motion. Looking for
second it.
support. I have support from Mr. Noble. Roll call vote.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Supervisor Kowal?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
Treasurer Roman?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Just say yes, Mike.
Yes.
We are going into executive session.
You'll be back.